the stiff truth. It's funny how blowjobs automatically go to gay sex instead of hetero. I don't know. I don't know why. It's just a thing, I guess.
It's just blowjobs going to gay sex is such a slippery slope. And with that being said, welcome to the Stiff Truth, everybody. It is Sunday, March 7th, 2021. I'm Scott Castelnova. I'm with here. Bob West is on the other end here, and things are looking like we're in a little bit different scenery. I don't know if anybody noticed, Bob, but we took a couple of weeks of absence, maybe a little bit longer than we thought initially, but all good things. Bob, how are you doing, my friend?
I'm doing well. Settling in. We did move. It is my fault that the Stiffies haven't had a show for the last couple of weeks. So I apologize for that sincerely, but it had to be done.
Well, I'm only mildly upset, but I think everything's going to be okay.
It was a nice break. I mean, we had like 3 weeks in a row of shows. We needed a break. 3 weeks on, 2 weeks off.
Yeah. I mean, that's hey, quality of life, work-life balance, baby. You know what I mean? Well, hey, let's get right into it, bud, because I want to talk a little bit about this process here. As everybody knows that owns a house or that's looked for a house, this is it's an anxious experience. It's an exciting experience. There's a lot of emotions coming through, a lot of things, a lot of responsibility that has to be done here. But Bob, walk us through some highlights, baby. Let's hear about it, man. I think everybody's dying to know.
Well, for one thing, this has been right around a 6-year process from complete beginning to end. So
like half of your schooling.
Yeah. So not even.
That was.
I wish that was half. I mean,
very generous of you, Scott.
Hey, a lot of people go to school for 6 years.
Yeah, they're called doctors. Sorry, go ahead.
So around 2015, I decided, I want to provide a family life for my family and get us into a house. And I can't do that, just always renting and not caring about my credit and all this. So around 2015, I really took good stock of all my credit history and what's going on and things I need to take care of and make advancements. And I ended up, getting a secured card to get something on the books, right? And then that led to me, fixing other stuff over time, getting unsecured cars, getting a new car, just the slow process that most people start when they're like 23. I didn't start until I was like 34, right? So, but anyway, did all of that, and over the last 6 or 7 years, 6 years, I've really gotten my credit good enough to where I'm like, we're getting close to buying a house. We're getting close to being able to buy a house. You really have to have you got to work that algorithm of the FICO system to get those numbers where they need to be to even get your foot in the door. Because I mean, if you don't even have a 640 credit score, you won't even make it past the computerized entry point as a lead to a senior loan officer. Like you just won't even get that far. So finally, we saw this house, and I sent it to my wife in January, and she was just like, that house is perfect. Let's buy that house. And I'm like, oh, well, I really liked the house, but I wasn't prepared to actually like go buy a house.
Babe. Whoa. I mean, I was literally just window shopping. Are you serious? I
was expecting another 4 or 5 months to really be where I wanted to be to make that offer and get pre-approved. So I just put it out there and said, fuck it. Let's see where we're at then.
Why not? What's the harm?
Put it all out there finally. And, Quicken called me back, and they're just like, we're running the numbers. Everything looks good. I'll call you tonight. Go look at the house. I'll call you at 6. So we go and we do a walkthrough of the house, and the realtor shows the house. And then we're we're driving away, and then we get a call, and I pull over into the Albertsons to take this call, right? And he told us that, that we've been approved. And like, I literally almost cried. Like, it was a very memorable experience getting that phone call with my wife, just in the car at the same time. It was just a very crazy thing. And
just
so
to piggyback off that real quick,
yeah,
I was actually going to ask you, like, how did that feel? And I know we had talked about it, but you know what else was probably something I just wanted to kind of go over a little bit here is the initial giving of this information to get approved, especially where we had both been at, where we both had, problems with finances not being extremely plentiful at certain times. That probably was a little bit unpleasant too, right? Kind of this concern of like, yeah, here's all the information, bro. So let's see what happens here. You know what I mean? Did you get that kind of feeling too? I know I did when I got the house.
well, I've been in the boat for about 3 years now or so. I know that my debt to income was like really good, and that wasn't my problem. My problem was simply building my credit from terrible, in 2015. And when I say terrible, Scott, like sub 500, like when I started this, it was fucking terrible. I hadn't looked at my credit in like 10 years. Right. And then I finally looked at it and I was like, oh my God. Right. And then, so when I finally got approved, the moment that happened, it was a commencement, right? It was just this sense of this long, arduous trip of building credit and essentially taking these steps, kind of like leveling up in a role-playing video game, right? Grinding and grinding and grinding, and finally getting things where you're really close and you think you're going to beat that boss, right? And you can do it. And then when you actually, like that first time you beat that boss, or when they actually told me that I had been pre-approved, like, I couldn't believe it. I just never had been in a position like that, and to just be put in that category. So it was I think that moment for me was probably even better than graduating college here in the next couple of months. Mm-hmm. I think that moment of getting pre-approved is more of an accomplishment than my degree, if that makes any sense.
It does, dude, because honestly, having a bad credit score handicaps you from doing a lot of things. Just in general. I mean, if you have the money or not to back it up, if you have a good credit score, you can get financing for a lot of stuff where it's a shut door, when you have a poor credit score, or just a subpar credit score in general, you know what I mean? Or knowing that you're not going to get nearly as good of an interest rate or payments or whatever it is. So it can be really deflating. So that's a great moment. That's a great moment. Now we're back in the car. You're crying. You're
almost.
Your face is in Jessica's chest, and you're crying. Go. Let's go. More.
So then we get back or whatever, and so my mother-in-law was down and she was watching the kids so that we can go do all this. So beautiful. So we get back and we get to tell everyone, like, we got approved for the loan, like we're buying a house, right? So and the next step then it's all right. Well, now we need, we got to get it inspected, right? We got to get it appraised. We got to get, all the stuff. And you start going through the process of buying the house. And I wasn't expecting it to be like that.
Sure.
So yeah. I think by the time it was all said and done, I had found over 24 documents, like they were lost, but I had produced over 24 documents for my lender. Yeah. They're just like, well, I need proof of this, proof of that. And I was like, well, I already gave you proof of that. And they're like, well, it's not exactly the right format that I would like it in. I need you to give it to me a different way. And I was just like, oh my God. So I had to just keep producing documents, all the while in the back of my mind wondering, when is this deal going to fall through? Yeah. Like, when is reality going to hit the West family and we get put back in our place on the totem pole and we don't get to get this house? You know what I mean? And that's Jess and I, we've come a long way in our marriage, socioeconomically, right? We've had a long journey throughout our life, especially financially, but getting to that point, we were just waiting for that other shoe to drop. So the whole time, like right up until the last week of closing, we're just like, just holding our breath, white knuckling it through the closing process. And then the closing day comes the day before, and the bank's like, well, I need you to get me some more documentation. And I'm just like, oh my God. Right. So it ended up getting pushed back one day by the lender. Well, I don't know if you know it or not. I believe you do, and most of the stiffies probably do. But the housing market right now is fucking crazy. Everyone's either refinancing or moving, right? Because the interest rates are at historic lows. So when I got pushed back a day to close, it pushed back the titling scheduling. I didn't get back in to actually sign my closing paperwork for 6 days. And so I had taken a week and a half off of work, and I'm at the point of, all right, if I don't get called in, I'm just going to go back to work and cancel the rest of my PTO, and because it's not worth it just sit around waiting. So finally we did close on February 23rd.
Woo!
So again, and this is why I explained to you before that buying a house is a tantric process, right? So when we close, I'm like, all right, I signed all the papers. So can I have my keys? Like, I've got a piano mover scheduled. I've got, movers come in. I got to coordinate moving a whole house now in 4 days and getting the house ready for the landlord to turn back over because I was renting. And so they're like, no, you don't actually get your keys right now. And I'm like, well, what the fuck do you mean I don't get my keys right now? I just signed my life away for this house. They're like, well, the loan actually has to get funded in the state of New Mexico before we can give you keys. Right. So then I'm waiting, right? So then the sellers don't go in until that afternoon so that they could start funding. Well, wire transfers end at a certain time of the day. It's usually 1 or 2 in the afternoon. So they couldn't fund the loan that day. So then I'm waiting the next day, still waiting after having already closed to get my keys. And I finally got a call at 10 o'clock in the morning from the realtor saying, it's been funded. You can come in and get your keys. And I went and got my keys. And again, thought I was going to get emotional when I got my keys, but I handled it really well. So I got my keys, went back in and showed them to my son because he went with me on that trip. And that was the whole process. But what a trip. And now I know, hopefully there won't be a next time for a while, but now I know what to expect. So anyone that hasn't bought a house, prepare yourself for mental anguish for 4 to 6 weeks. It's just going to be brutal. Stay uber patient. Keep your chin up. Stay confident. Handle your stuff. Don't buy anything on your credit cards. Don't do anything squirrely with your money at all. That's not easily explained because it's almost like the loan company is just waiting for an excuse to pull that football out from under Charlie Brown.
It's true, man. It seems like that. And obviously they're just covering their bases and doing things by the book. But something you mentioned is 100% spot on. With all this documentation, a lot of this documentation, you had no idea this kind of documentation even existed or had a purpose. You're like, what am I getting now? You're like, what? From where? Okay, sure. But as you keep continuously giving this stuff over, what you had said is so on point there with when's the next shoe going to drop? Something is going to, it's like something is going to come out of left field and be like, oh, you know what? On this crazy documentation you've never heard of here, this does not match up with what we need. And there's nothing you can do about it. Of course I don't have specifics because it didn't happen, but
right.
Yeah, that's in the back of your mind until they give you those fucking keys. You're like, are we done? Still got to fund. You're all son of a bitch. Because I remember, what was it? You're supposed to close, I believe, on
the 18th.
Was that a Tuesday or a Thursday?
Yeah, it was on a Thursday, the 18th, and I didn't close until Wednesday, the 23rd.
Yeah, I remember hitting you up what's going on? And even your comment back was I think everything's okay. I don't know. This was on the calendar.
Just trying to stay positive too, because the family's watching me and the example that I'm setting emotionally. So I'm just like, no, everything is good. Fuck.
You look like you look like the Key and Peele meme where he's just pouring sweat off his face. Right. Just trying to keep my composure. Everything's fine, family. Everything's fine. Just a little delay, a little hiccup in the road here. Well, I'll tell you what, man. Yeah, it's hey, well, just like tantric sex or whatever, it was worth the wait, my friend. You are in the new house. You are rocking and rolling, and from what I understand too, already looking into some of your first home improvement stuff. Yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So this house first count came with a security system, which was cool. I like security. I'm real big on security. And
He's like, I wear a chastity belt.
I told the homeowners and for homeowners insurance as my insurance agent that it had a security system, so I got a discount, all that. So now it's being paid out of escrow, but so now I like have to maintain that security system.
Sure.
So I call the company that's doing it's a local Albuquerque company, and I'm like, yeah, there's service already here. I just want to kind of see what my options are. If someone needs to come, explain the system to me, and we just keep it rolling, or if I need to get it upgraded, or what's the deal? And so he looked at the account. And he's like, well, it is on cellular, but it's on 3G, and we don't. It was deactivated in January. We don't actually activate any 3G legacy
Does
equipment
3G
like
even
that.
work anymore? I mean,
It
seriously.
still exists for like roaming and shit, but
Yeah. Okay. That's when it kicks into my phone. I'm all 3G. Fuck, nothing's working. When that used to be like cutting edge 10 years ago. So,
right. So.
okay, gotcha.
So he's like, oh, so we're going to have to upgrade that cellular unit to a 4G one, and we're going to have it installed and everything. And it's going to cost you like 300 or so to have us come out and swap that out for you. I was like, okay, so there's $300. What's it per month? And he's like, well, it's $35 a month. And I'm like, holy shit. For what? Right. So, I have a bunch of Ring cameras all over the house. So,
Sure.
I was like, all right, well, how about I just get a Ring security? I started looking into that. And, so I'm already paying for the security monitoring from Ring because I have so many cameras. You have to pay for that anyway.
Oh,
So there would be no additional cost for that for me. I just need to get the equipment. So I went with Ring. I'm going to ditch that old stuff and just go with my new internets, and I'm going to upgrade that to a Ring and bought new smoke detector, carbon monoxide. This house doesn't have CO detectors, so we got to get that. We have kids.
20, $30 or
Right.
actually pay like 50, get a pack of them, dude. Just put them all over the house. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's what we did. So we're going to do that. And then other than that, there's a bar that has to get built.
I want to be a part of this too. Don't leave me out. And we'll talk about it here in a minute. We are literally months away from being able to actually hang out live in person. It's going to be exciting. But I want to be a part of that because that's got to be almost as exciting as the house because it's part of the house and it's going to be your favorite part of the house once things are said and done. I have to imagine.
Oh yeah, no, the room where the bar is legit. So that's like the all-in-one room, very large room. So it's kind of the game room, right? But it has the exercise equipment, the bar. I'm putting the mats down, so you could do like yoga or whatever the hell dumbbell work, whatever you're trying to do. So.
Oh, I thought that was in lieu of me needing knee pads when I come over now.
Yeah, it saves your knees. I've already got these mats, but I was looking at the thicker like MMA style mats in case.
Scott, hey, when you come to my house, no need to bring accessories anymore. For
we got you. We got
you covered.
and when we're all done, I got a nice bottle of spray bleach. We'll clean those mats right up.
Oh my God. Well, exciting stuff. Well, let me ask you.
How come every time you go to Bob's house, you come back with ringworm? Oh no, it's weird.
We do a lot of wrestling. But I do want to ask you here too, if you don't have it already, when are you getting the Home Depot card?
Funny you say that. So there's literally a Home Depot like 5 blocks away from the house.
Location. I've said it again. I'll say it before. Beautiful. Well, I think you need to get one, buddy.
No, so does Jess. She already told me. She's like, we should just get a Home Depot card. I mean, it's right there. We'll be going there all the time. So yeah, I've already made a couple of trips there.
Yeah.
Little things so far, door stops, paint stuff. Because one of our bathrooms was like canary yellow.
Ooh, canary too.
That doesn't work in this house. So we're taking care of that right away.
I'll tell you what, too. It happened to me. I don't know if it happened to you before, but I have a little bit different perspective. First and foremost, I used to not like home improvement stores. I wouldn't say just prior to me owning a house. It comes from when I was a kid. I was dragged there a lot when I was a kid and just like had to spend hours on end against my will when I wanted to go play. However, once I became a homeowner, all of a sudden it's like church going to Home Depot. It takes on a whole different type of experience when you're going there to like invest in your house and fix stuff for your ownership. It's fantastic.
Dude, I've already noticed how when I go into Home Depot, that's the moment when you know truly what all needs to be done in your house. Because you can walk through it. You're like, everything looks pretty good until you get into Home Depot and you're like, oh, that ceiling fan's nice. Well, my room doesn't have a ceiling fan, so I need to upgrade there.
Exactly.
Now I noticed some chips in the paint in the guest bedroom. I'm gonna have to take care of that. Do we want to go with that color? Do we want... And all of a sudden it's like, well, the ice maker's not working all that great in the fridge. Do we just get the repair guy out, or do we just get that nice Samsung right there? You know what I mean? It's
I can see that they actually got a suite here with the entire new kitchen suite. Why don't we just go ahead and do that? I mean, that stovetop is like about 10, 15 years old anyways, you know, then you're looking at $3,500, $4,000. But again, get that card, buddy. Get that card as your credit's getting better too, that financing, make some payments on all that wicked stuff.
not just better, but for the first time in my life, I'm going to say I have good credit.
He has good credit.
It has climbed up into the level that is good.
It has climbed up in the level that is acceptable.
And I don't even care. I don't even care if anyone knows because I'm proud of it. I'm rocking a 690 right now.
Good for you.
And I don't even care. It's higher than my GPA. I'll tell you that.
Oh my!
It takes longer to get too.
Yeah. Well, dude, that is fucking it's fucking exciting stuff, man. Love it. New house. I can't wait to get down there, and I know it's going to be a little bit of time, but I feel there is in the near future. Maybe I don't want to put a deadline on stuff, but in 2021, I see a live show at Bob's Pad. That's what I see.
Oh, I'm into it. I'm into it. We'll talk more about details after the show.
Yeah. So the timeline for that may be speeding up. And you know what else looks like it's speeding up here, Bob, when we talk about timeline? The vaccine rollout, baby. The vaccine rollout. Have you got yours yet? I don't know. We haven't talked in a while, Bob.
No, it turns out herpes doesn't have a cure.
Oh, shitty, man.
Oh, COVID. Gotcha. My bad.
Oh, man. Some exciting stuff going on, man. I know you know about it. I know you've been busy lately, but and I'm sure all the stiffies know, unless you literally are not looking forward to anything about the end of this pandemic or just getting towards the end of the road here. But J&J, good old Johnson & Johnson, a trusted name in, infant care and products and all kinds of shit now for like 100 years, has the one and done, which I like. Just give me a quick shot in the mouth and let me get on my way, right? 85% efficient or effective, right? A little bit lower, but you also have to think the other ones are 2 doses to get them up into the upper 90 percentile. So pretty exciting stuff here, because the other big thing, regular refrigerator storage, which is big and not the negative 90 degrees Celsius or what have you that the other ones need. So big time stuff, Bobby.
Well, even though the one-shot Johnson & Johnson vaccine isn't as effective, it's effective enough that if everyone in America took it, we'd have herd immunity.
Yeah. And the other thing I heard too is research is showing that, and I don't know if the other ones have this, but just studies that were hooked onto this one said the actual transmission rate slows when taking this one too, which was before that wasn't necessarily the case with Moderna or Pfizer. Now, I'm not here downplaying Moderna or Pfizer. We literally now have 3 amazing options to get this shit under control. I'm super stoked about it. That's all I can say.
And I don't know where the AstraZeneca one is, but there's a 4th one somewhere out there too.
I think that primarily is their distribution channels is over like Euro-Asia and places like that, and which kind of makes sense. As developed in Britain, if you're going to distribute it, do it over the EU and over Asia and get it done, right? And we've got 3 here on the state side. We've got 330 million people we need to get done here. So it's all good shit. Now, I haven't heard a lot of stuff about AstraZeneca. In fact, I didn't even know that one was even approved until I was watching the news recently. I was like, oh, that's approved. Last I heard, they had like a little backtrack, in their progress because some people got sick in one of their focus groups or something like that. But whatever, man, we haven't seen any flipper babies. Nobody's turning into zombies yet. Things are looking good, man. I mean, literally things are looking really good here. I would say Summertime, baby. Summertime sounds like what I'm hearing from all different news outlets too is at least by the end of summer or the beginning of summer, depending on who you're listening to, we should be at that point for herd immunity, which, if the cities don't know, is 70% of the population.
Well, and El Presidente said that as far as
Oh, is that what we're
purchases,
calling him now?
as far as purchases and delivery goes, that we should have enough vaccines that have been purchased and delivered by the end of May for whoever wants one that wants one, because we know there's probably around 30 or so percent of the country that just won't get it, and that's fine. We can achieve herd immunity without those people getting it, and that's okay. This is America. You don't have to get it. But so anyone that wants one here in the next 2 months should be able to get it. So hopefully, but now there's political language in that, right? We will have delivered enough, but delivered isn't the end line of the logistics of getting shots in arms, and we all know that. So probably by the time that we all get it, I'm hoping early to midsummer. Really, I'm hoping that within the next month or so, because I looked it up in our state, and I am now in the eligible list.
Nice.
So they've started the rollout where I'm in the eligible list, and I'm physically just waiting in line now for there to be a vaccine for me, and they'll email me and I'll have my date. I'm starting to see some of my employees are getting it, and people that I work with are getting it. And so I'm really hopeful. My parents have already gotten their first one. They get their next one next week.
Yeah, so, my father's actually got both his Pfizer doses, but he's also in the healthcare system in Washington. But I was surprised. We talked like a month ago. We didn't really bring it up. I talked to him like a week ago. He's like, "Oh yeah, I got both my shots. Doing great." I'm like, "Cool." But yeah, like the important thing is our parents, people that age, it looks like on a whole, the majority of them are taken care of right now in the country. Now, regardless of partisan politic bullshit or whatever about this state not doing it right, blah, 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 blah. It doesn't really matter. It looks like things on a whole are picking up with distribution and getting them in arms. And I mean, the biggest thing is that the vast majority of elderly and people at risk are being taken care of right now.
Yeah, we gotta do something fast because Deftones and Gojira are coming in a few months. We gotta be able to hit that.
And you know,
have priorities.
Being that it's September, things are looking really good because if things are taken care of by June, July, it's going to be fantastic. And you're right. I'm very excited about concert season just opening back up. Dude, it was super exciting here. Just things in Colorado are actually going pretty well too. I think we're above 15% of our population is vaccinated. The vast majority of people over 65, they're starting to bring in the new tiers and doing like teachers, and things like that. Teachers and also like grocery store workers, all this kind of shit. But they did announce Red Rocks, which you probably know up here, like one of the best outdoor venues in the country, maybe even world for concerts, is going to announce their concert schedule in April, right? Not for April, but for the season, which usually is, from like May to like October, November. So all these things, very, very exciting stuff. They got like Denver Restaurant Week and shit like that, which was canceled last year, is happening, but they just postponed it like a month or so. It's the light at the end of the tunnel, man. I don't want to get too far into it in this show, but I've heard, I think it's 12, 13 states have started easing COVID restrictions now, dropping the mask mandates and shit like that. We could sit here and argue about whether or not it's the right time or not. It's really not the right time, but that they're doing it. There's obviously things that we don't see, numbers that we don't see, or that we're seeing. They just get more detail on that. There is some justification to just not relax it, but start to feel a little bit better on where we're at and actually how much longer we really have to go, which is just good shit, man.
Yeah, and I will say, like, I know there's been a lot of political. Well, Texas is dropping their mask mandate way too early, and I'll just like quickly kind of say, first of all, that's Jim Abbott's decision to make, right? That he was voted for, he got elected, he's the one to put them in place. He's the one that can take them away.
And he's not saying don't wear masks. He's just saying I'm not going to arrest you or get you in trouble for
right. Nothing. You're not going to get fined, right? Yeah,
there's a big
stores can still mandate their private businesses, whatever. You can obviously still wear your mask. People can still practice common sense. And he was asked in an interview about that. And he said basically, I think we're at the point to where the people can decide their own safety and health at this point. And so, whatever. if you want to stay home or you want to wear your mask and still be very cautious, we still all have the right to do that. And if the numbers start going up, they can quickly then just say, all right, guys, we gotta roll it back a little bit while we're getting these vaccines out. So I think I'm not going to stand on my soapbox against the states that are really pulling their mask mandates at this point, because I know, Lord knows, the economy needs it. So there's that, and I really get tired of all the partisan politics around the health measures, and people really trying to weaponize and politicize, the health stuff. People are in a position to make decisions. They got voted to be there. They make the decisions. You can have your own personal decisions to make. I'm not saying that, you can come up and cough in my face if I'm wearing a mask and you're not, and like start like, doing that. But I do say that, I could see where state officials are doing their things, especially with the numbers heading in the right direction.
Well, and here's the other thing too. What you had just mentioned is spot on here, is how people will politicize this no matter what. So right now, if you turn on CNN, they're going to say states are rolling back their COVID restrictions prematurely. There's 12 states, most notably Mississippi and Texas. And I'm like, yeah, cool. Interesting to mention that you didn't say anything about Connecticut being the one that's like actually like easing up the most because their numbers are doing the best, but that doesn't make sense because that's a blue state. So you know what I mean? It's just, they got to point out the red states, and it's just kind of pathetic. I'm at the point right now too, where I'm like, you know what? Good for them, because one, I actually appreciate the government saying, hey, we're going to entrust you guys to make the right decision. Here's still the guidelines from the CDC. Please still be careful out there, but we're not going to mandate things. Do the right thing. Because if you think about it, if we didn't have states that actually thought like that and made decisions like that, we would be in a lot of trouble with a lot of, just, I don't know, we'll call them freedoms and liberties in general. So at least they're there. And yeah, we can talk about if the decision was right, if we go, at least 2 weeks down the road, right? Since there's a 2-week lag, we'll figure it out.
And again, and most of these states are still recommending you follow the CDC guidelines,
Sure.
and they're still recommending that you do wear your masks until the CDC says otherwise. Again, like you said earlier, and perfectly correct, they're just simply not going to fine you for it anymore.
Exactly. Yeah. So, hey, all good things, man. It kind of tells me I'm about ready to go hit up fucking Miami for spring break. You ready to go? I mean, that's just like in a couple of weeks.
Oh man, you know what's going to happen too. Next thing you know, it's going to be Florida too. Sorry, Florida. It's always Florida. I don't know what to say.
Would be a really just a responsible kind of turn of events that would happen is they're going to have these huge spring break parties in Florida, but like in the middle of the party at spring break, they're going to have these mobile vaccine centers. That'd be great. It's like, hey, let's party, but get your shot first before you go beer bong real quick. We'll see if that happens, man. But yeah, all good shit. I'm going to just go ahead and make a dramatic pivot here, bud. I don't have any cute, witty little transition here, but I was a little bit upset. I was offended, Bob, about what Facebook did to me, and I think we need to talk about it here. If anybody doesn't know, which I'm sure the majority probably don't, I've been put in Facebook jail, but not on my personal account. It was on the Stiff Truth Facebook page that both Bob and I share responsibilities for administration here. And I think you brought this up a few weeks ago because there was a delay in them even taking action. I think we both got an alert and you're like, hey, what's with the Facebook warning? And I actually didn't even see that yet. I'm like, what the fuck is going on? Now, granted, they definitely weren't trying to hide it at that point, though, because I opened up my Facebook app on my phone and immediately before it could go to anything, it's all blah. You did something against community standards. And I'm like, well, let's see what the fucking details are on this. Here's the interesting thing to me. It was something I posted on March 30th, 2020, literally almost 1 year ago. Call it, by the time they popped me, like 10 and a half, 11 months or what have you. And just to let everybody know, the racy, disgusting, just vile thing that I posted is, if you think about this too, literally on everybody's mind in March 30th, go back a year, It was COVID fucking everything. COVID bonanza. Toilet paper was the hottest fucking topic too, or hardest thing to find in the store, whatever you want to say. But people were inundated with not only just fear, like myself and you, anxiety and concern, like, oh my God, what the fuck is going on? We really didn't even know much about the virus yet, just that everything was being shut down. And I was scrolling through Facebook, probably had a few cocktails, during this time. Not going to make that excuse for my post. I think it was very innocent, but I saw a funny meme that I shared from somebody else's page that essentially was just a nice picture of a scene, a nice little forest, almost like a Bob Ross looking picture. And it says, take a break from coronavirus. So you just enjoyed a painting drawn by or painted by Adolf Hitler. And I was like, that's kind of funny because he's an evil person. And I was going to relax while I was taking a break from COVID by checking out his painting. So I shared that to the Facebook Stiff Truth page. Nothing, Bob. Nobody was immediately pissed off or anything like that because it took about 10 and a half, 11 months for anybody to reprimand me. And check this out. I know from talking to other people, because I don't normally post a bunch of weird shit on my Facebook account, but normally it's 30 days in Facebook jail that people get. I'm banned for 60 days. They threw the book at me. The kitchen sink, Bob. What say you about this?
I think it's hilarious. That's why I posted a couple of funnies about it. But the other hypocritical thing that I do want to point out is I've probably seen at least half a dozen attempts to purchase an ad made off of that exact post from Facebook saying, hey, look, we made this little slideshow ad for you. And that was in there over and over and over. So they Facebook jailed you, but then they wanted us to pay money to push that out as an ad, which is, I think, the ultimate hypocrisy.
It's so hypocritical. And here's the other interesting thing too, if you think about it. And we had talked about this. We do have somebody is the opposite of a secret admirer, right? A mutual, what have you. So we figured maybe
we call those haters.
Yeah.
There's haters out there that could be tagging every single post from us.
But still, why would they choose that one? And honestly, if it was reported recently, why would they be on our Facebook page literally going back 10 months? We don't post a shitload of stuff, but that would take a long time. Almost borderline like psychotic kind of behavior, which is not a far stretch, but you know what I mean?
I would say that that's more plausible. I don't think that Facebook is just now, almost a year later, saying, you know what? On second thought, that post you did last year, it's a little racy. We're going to suspend you for it. I think it was more that someone just fucking flagged it as inappropriate, and then they reviewed it, and they're like, okay, I guess it could. It does say coronavirus, and it does have Hitler that's associated with hate speech. Both of those, coronavirus misinformation or hate speech, are the things that you actually have to abide by in the community standards. So I'm pretty sure those are both really borderline and probably defensible and from our standpoint, but it's definitely not worth, going to battle with Facebook over. Just take your medicine and I'll post for the next 2 months.
Yeah, exactly. And I will tell you that Facebook jail is refreshingly mild compared to what I thought it would be. You know what I mean? Me and the boys are whipping towels in there. I mean, we're like chasing each other around. I purposely just dropped the soap, just to have fun. I mean, it's a little bit more.
What comes up, I like the post.
And you're right, though. I honestly think that, as pathetic as it is, and I think this is what happened. I don't know if anybody reported it. I think what Facebook has done in recent months is turn up the sensitivity on their algorithm that they have. That's honestly what I think's happened. And I think whatever, dude, the election, the insurrection, all this shit maybe plays into what they would say as an excuse for it. But it's interesting to me because I've even reposted shit on our page that I think has been a lot more offensive and like borderline, like, I don't know if you should really do that, but then you hit the button and start laughing about sharing it. You know what I mean? But if you think about it, yeah, just because it has the word coronavirus, there's no misinformation about the coronavirus on there.
It doesn't even say anything about it.
But this is how poor the algorithm is. It says coronavirus and it says Adolf Hitler's name. Now I could post something that says fucking hate is horrible. Adolf Hitler should die of gonorrhea and coronavirus at the same time. would that still be considered misinformation and hate speech because his name was there? I think it would. That's what
I don't know, dude. I don't think you like went Gina Carano on it or anything.
Yeah.
I think it was pretty tame, and I do find it mildly amusing that a few weeks after we talk about cancel culture on the show, that
I get
Facebook
canceled.
cancels you. That's sweet irony.
It's just a temporary cancellation. The show will be back on air soon. But the other thing I think that again is like an empty gesture on their end is if you're going to do it to a page, you should probably do it to all the admins, or it doesn't really do a goddamn thing. You know what I mean? It's literally like using the Nazi example again. It's like Heimlich Himmler shooting him, but leaving Hitler there, or vice versa, and saying, "Okay, everything's good. World War II is over." You know, it's like it's stupid. They weren't able to do anything. Now, if I really have an itch to post something, all I got to do is bug you to post it.
Yeah, or not even bug me. Just ask.
Like, hey, Bob, there's something in here that
actually our wives are moderators, so you can just have your wife post it too.
Well, they're obviously not doing a good job by Facebook standards. Step up your game, ladies.
You have to protect the page owners from themselves.
It's like, look, get off Facebook and put that drink down. That's your 9th drink. Nothing good is going to come of this. Oh, that's good shit, Bob. Well, you know what? It is what it is, bro. I think it has a lot to do with politics, media, so on and so forth. But we'll see.
I think Facebook's stuck in the past. They need to move forward.
Yeah, I think Facebook needs to like realize we're in 2021 and things aren't that bad anymore. What do you think?
Not much unlike some of the MSM that is out there today.
You know what? We talked about this earlier here too. It's really interesting to me. As you know, my game. I play a game. You probably play it too. I'm sure a lot of other people do that aren't quite partisan sucked in one way or another. But I like to flip the channels back and forth between, most notably, Fox and CNN. I want to go for the most extreme, right? I want to see Tucker talk about something, then I want to flip over and see, it's Anderson Cooper that's talking about something usually at the same time, and back and forth, back and forth. What I've noticed, you've noticed it too. It's really ridiculous here. And it's been a funny game. I've actually laughed at it here the past couple of weeks. I put it on Fox. They are literally talking about coronavirus lockdowns. Of course, Andrew Cuomo. They can't get enough of the Cuomo stuff, right?
Oh, it's funny. My wife turned on Fox and she's like, "What do you think they're talking about?" And I was like, "Andrew Cuomo." And she turned it on, and right away the headline was Cuomo this one. I was like, "I told you."
Right. They're talking about that. They're talking about cancel culture. They're talking about things that are important, but it's glaringly obvious stuff that's pitted against the left and the liberal agenda. And then immediately, and this happened, Jesus, they finally like stopped like for a couple of days. Now, I don't know if they're just taking a quick little break about Trump or whatever, but CNN cannot get off Trump's dick, dude. It's pathetic. Like literally, I was talking to you about this. Headline news, bro, like primetime shit, like breaking stories was about Trump's legal battles and civil battles now. Like has nothing to fucking do anymore with what's happening and congressionally or even the impeachment. It's like they're just zoned the fuck in, and it's like they just can't give it up. They're still trying to bury this guy, and he's not even in the White House anymore. But there's a lot of other shit going on. Then I flip it back to Fox, and oh my God, Jesus Christ, did you see the crisis at the goddamn Mexican border? What the fuck is going on over there? What is Biden's administration doing? They're killing children. It's like, you're like, holy shit. And then you flip back to CNN. There's not even a mention of the border. But it's so funny because if you remember a couple of years ago, it was CNN screaming about the border and screaming about Trump building the wall and screaming about this, screaming about that. Now there's crickets coming from them because Biden's doing it. They're literally using the same camps that Obama used and Trump used. They were good when Obama, you know what I mean? It's just like, Jesus Christ.
Well, so those camps, Obama built them. I mean, obviously he didn't by himself, right? He wasn't out there with like a post hole digger putting up some like razor wire and some fancy.
No, he sent Joe down to fucking lay the first stone.
Right. So those camps along the border there were built under the Obama administration. There was already, families getting detained there. The thing that happened under Trump was they were separating the children, right? This was a new Steve Miller, our favorite wholesome politician looking out for all the kids because it's about the kids.
I saw Steve Miller he was on Fox News like a couple weeks ago, and they're like, I was like, this guy. I was like, dude, he is like beyond racist, and nobody can see it. But anyways, we've talked about old Steve.
Or just before. Nobody cares. It's really weird. Like, he's pretty open about it.
Yeah.
I mean,
he's not being canceled. Interesting. Anyways, yeah, what were you saying? Go ahead.
So yeah, Obama's, again, the Obama administration, they were built by whatever department, DHS, I think, does that. But anyway, they were built, in the early 2010s. And then, Trump put them in there, but then he was actually separating the families for like a good, 18 months or something like that. And then probably didn't really know it was going on, but then did stop it, right? Yeah, and put the executive order to stop it. Even tried to start finding the families. Biden's made it a top priority to find the families of these kids because apparently they still had 500 kids that were still in the system without parents. So
yeah, but Biden, the reason why there's an influx of shit going on at the border right now is it's like people are lining up to get into a fucking festival or concert on the Mexican side to get into America right now. I mean, you can't have the Biden administration calling all cars and calling all migrants, come on in, and not expect a little bit of, some strain on the border,
Well, and he's an old school Democrat, so it's not like that was fun to say when you're campaigning or whatever, but
why'd you say that? It's like, it sounded great.
It's not like he's actually letting them in. I mean, he still has a pretty tight, immigration policy, and there's been no new legislation passed. So we're still going on whatever was happening. I mean, he might have executive ordered it. In fact, I think there's an executive order about to drop dealing with some changes to immigration, but, there hasn't been a whole lot of change other than he stopped separating the kids. He's just detaining the parents with the kids in the same space now, but still using the same camp. But again, back to your point, it depends on what channel you watch as to how it gets presented, right? It's to how you get your meal seasoned. It's the same meal. Some will just put butter. Some will put butter flavored oil. But either way, it's still the same meat, right?
Some will switch out the sides completely on you, and you're not looking though, like what you're, I thought I had mashed potatoes with this, but now it's corn. It's interesting, man. But it just goes to show you too that just the agendas are glaring of the media. I don't even know how much the media is being provoked to do this, or if they're literally just just reaching for fucking straws on what people are going to want to watch right now. You know what I mean? Like, well, we've made money off of smearing Trump for the past 5 years because we did it the whole lead up to his campaign trail too. What do we do now? And vice versa. It's really interesting, man. But it is like we were talking about, they need to just go ahead and give it up. I mean, there's a lot of other things going on in the country, and it'd be nice to see one of these news outlets actually not do some repetitive news about the same thing over and over again.
Well, you know how it works, man. It's the more radical the headline, the more ad revenue. They're afraid
or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. They're afraid of some sort of bipartisan or nonpartisan presentation of the news, because then someone might turn the channel.
Fuck. Hey, come back. Hold on. You want to watch this commercial about MyPillow? No, they're the Giza sheets. Yeah.
Well, and here's the biggest problem with CNN and Fox is they have sectioned off their section of people so squarely that now Fox only deals with conservatives and CNN only deals with liberals, right? So then, they cater to those. So then they make the headlines more radical for those, audiences. So now they're trying to just retain all of those people because there's no way they can actually get a conservative to watch CNN at this point, so it's just really strange. They're skewing off. And this kind of goes back to our problem with, death in journalism and no oversight or federal funding to protect journalism.
God, that's a goddamn good episode. Probably one of my favorites of last season too. Anyways, no, you're absolutely right, man. And it is interesting, dude, because I'll tell you what, something that you just said was a great point too. Fox still likes to fake it a little bit. CNN just doesn't even like to fake it anymore. When they have a panel, it's a panel of 4 hardcore progressive liberals. They might have a moderate in there and they're going to gang up on them, but there's not even conservatives there anymore. I like what Fox does though, which I think is comical, is they'll literally have, including the anchor, who is highly partisan on the conservative side, except for what's his name?
Chris Matthews.
Yeah, Chris Matthews. He's the only one, but he's like their token almost, not so conservative. But they'll have a panel of 4. The anchor is going to be highly partisan. The 2 are. And they may have one of an opposing view, but they never let him talk. They don't let him finish. The anchor interrupts him to like counter argument what he's saying. They gang up on him. And then right as that person tries to get something, oh, I'm sorry. We're out of time. Thanks again for coming on. And it's like, you're like, what the fuck was that? Like if I had like an adverse opinion and they brought me on like a Fox panel and like, they're like, so what do you think about this? Your thoughts? You say this. And I'm like, well, I'd like to just go ahead and start. Thank you for having me. And they just already interrupt me and just go after me. And I could get like maybe a half a word out at the end of the segment, and then they just cut me off and say thank you for coming on. What the fuck is that shit, dude? But that's literally how Fox does it, dude. And it's like, okay, you can still say we're fair and balanced because look, there's a Democrat in the panel. We're gonna fucking string them up and beat them with fucking like.
Well, that and Democrats don't like to go on Fox because they know they're just gonna get they're hammered and cornered. Same with CNN.
Yeah, they're walking into a firing squad. You know, it's funny. It's like, well, you know, government Cuomo denied to be on the show. Like, of course he did. He's already like facing. Look, let's face it. I don't like Andrew Cuomo. I think he's a fucking piece of shit. And he kind of like
you've said as much on the show specifically.
Yeah. I was like, he's a piece of shit, and he kind of talks and looks like just like a gorilla. Like he's like just a very Neanderthal looking dude, whatever it is. But why would he walk into something like going on Fox News for anything when he's facing right now 5 sexual harassment allegations for women going back now 20 years with some of them. And his entire administration is facing fudging fucking numbers for COVID deaths in nursing home in the state of fucking the state of New York. Dude,
sounds like he should run for president.
Well, hey, you gotta love what he did like during the pandemic, because he wrote a book about himself and how great he was about like his leadership in New York City. Great guy, very humble guy. But yeah, anyways, yeah, you're not going to do that on either end of the table, especially when you're facing some hardcore scrutiny right now. Let's walk into the lion's den and have them fucking kick up more dirt about me. You know, it's stupid. But again, I don't understand how either of these news outlets or MSNBC for that matter, but I don't know how they expect to grow like viewership and grow their business. Like actually what should be important to them, like is just doing it organically if they're only catering to one side of the table. And
I don't think they care about growing. I think they're happy with the millions of people that they have. And that gives them the revenue that makes them consistent. And I mean, heaven forbid a nonpartisan news company came on and would have like a conservative show followed by a liberal show right after. I mean, wow, mind blowing.
Like this is how the news used to be like 30, 40 years ago though, which is so fucking interesting, man. I don't remember this. I cannot remember my father complaining about the news being one party base or something like that when I was a little kid. I don't remember that. Now you fast forward up until like the 2000 era and beyond. I think I want to say Bush on that's when they got really, really polarized, so to speak, with what they were obviously supporting and what narrative they wanted you to hear. It's not really news to anybody. I just wanted to point it out because they are so stuck in 2020, like we were talking about earlier this week too.
I mean, really, if I can remember correctly, and maybe I'm just biased for some reason, but I want to say this started in the 90s. And I think it was a Rupert Murdoch Fox News sort of just said, you know what, let's have a conservative news station. Right. And then that created combined, not just them, but combined with Rush Limbaugh, I think played a huge part as the tribal partisan politics and media. Right. And then when Bill O'Reilly had such great success on Fox, I think that cemented the deal for them. Yeah, right. But then on the other side, I think that then forced CNN to gather everyone else that was left. Because I don't remember in the 90s when CNN was like the biggest news agency in the world. I don't remember them being partisan at all. Right. And I don't remember that until the last decade or so of really CNN going to the left and Fox cementing themselves in the right. And then same with MSNBC, but they're like relatively new. They weren't around in the 90s. I mean, they started like 10, 15 years ago. So they're a little bit different, but I just think it's been crazy to watch. But I from my point of view, I want to say that Bill O'Reilly and Rush Limbaugh really started the Fox conservative movement, and then that just kind of organically had a counter effect with CNN going the other way with it because they weren't going to get those numbers because they were already watching Fox, so they reached out to a different audience.
And that's a great point you brought up too. I remember back in the day, and I know we were kids at this time to a certain extent, but when you turned on CNN back in the day, now we're watching the real news. Now we're watching like the global news, like the national headline news.
That's where we watched the Iraq War.
Exactly. Like I remember there was just a different idea, and I mean Fox News really wasn't much of a thing. It wasn't really a big thing before that happened. So good point. But anyways, these news channels will do what they will. I'm kind of looking at time, Bob, and I'm thinking we should go get a cocktail.
I was just going to say the same thing. I know we have our next topic there, but I was going to ask if you wanted to move the cocktail up before we start on that anyway. So I'm with you.
I always want to move the cock. Okay, you know what I'm saying, baby?
Let's go get one.
All right, babe.
Cheers, Scotty.
Oh, cheers all the way. Cheers to your tits.
Cheers for fears.
Oh, it's a great band.
Cheers for beers.
Recline that thing all the way back. Pour yourself a nice little bottle of bubbly.
Right. We are back, aren't we? Oh, let's see it.
Oh.
Nice. Mine is a little bit lighter. I literally just put a dash of grenadine. I barely.
Yeah, I went a little heavier in the grenadine. I didn't know because I didn't have the slow gin, so I had to fake it with regular gin and grenadine. So it is what it is.
You know what I did is everything called for 3/4 of an ounce. I just threw an ounce of everything in mine.
Oh yeah, no, I did a full shot of SoCo in mine.
Good man. So I'm gonna give it a quick. I haven't had any yet. Let's get in there. By the way, folks, me and Bob are having what they call an Alabama Slammer, which is apparently a very popular drink because there's like 6 different versions of it. So you didn't see that yet? You haven't found your bartender book?
No, I don't know. I probably know what box it's in now, since I have my bar kit. I bet it's in that box.
Ooh, that's pretty damn good.
Yeah, it is very good.
Ooh,
yeah, I'll make Jess one of these after the show.
Yeah, she'll like this one, dude.
But I did love mixing at the bar. It was pretty fun. Awesome.
Yeah. And guys, I'm just gonna jump right on the Alabama Slammer. If there is a bandwagon, I'm on it right now because it's another beautiful mixed drink with a little bit of OJ in it. You know how I am about my citrus drinks, my friend. And again, there's a lot of different versions of this, guys, but what it does call for specifically on the OG version, if we call it that, is 3/4 of an ounce of vodka or orange vodka or some shit like that. It said 3/4 of an ounce of amaretto and 3/4 of an ounce of SoCo, a dash of grenadine or soul gin, right? Slow
gin.
Oh, slow gin, slow, kind of like me, just moving kind of slow.
Not that slow.
Slower gin, that or grenadine. Fill the rest of the glass with some OJ and shake that bitch vigorously. Did you give it a good shake?
Well, of course, till it's nice and frothy.
Oh God,
I love my shake and froth. I love it. I understand why 007 James Bond was always asking for his shit shaken, not stirred, or shaken, not stirred. If it's Sean Connery, but it's so much better to have a drink shaken.
It really is, dude. Everything is better about it. In fact, and I'm sure this has happened to you as well, I'll just do it because I like doing it. But when because I like to go buy the book specifically when I make a new drink, sometimes it just says, and then stir. And I'm like, oh, really? That's it? I'm just going to throw the bar spoon in there and give it a little tink, 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 tink. I'm like, I don't know, bro. I think I need to shake this. I get more satisfaction out of a nice frothy shake.
Or in the case of the New York sours, the shake with an egg white, man. For y'all that don't know about that, if you rewind it back through our drinks, the New York sour with some egg white shaken, so it's all foamy and frothy at the top. It's almost like there's some meringue on top of your drink. It's pretty wild.
This is a good one. I like it. Big fan. Now,
good job. Good pick.
Hey, I told you my strategy now. We're going in alphabetical order, homie. It's like I'm sick of flipping around all over in the book. And whenever I find something, just
You
throw
know
it.
what's awesome, and you probably go through this too, but you're like, hey, I'm going to do this. Cool. What's in it? And I look it up, and I'm like, yeah, I have everything for that. I'm good.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
And it is interesting because prior you'd be like, where the fuck would I get some of this shit? There's always like there's always that one ingredient in most interesting drinks. You're like, what? Where can I get that? You know what I mean? But yeah, we've got a lot of good stuff, man. We've built up quite a an arsenal, so to speak, of liqueurs and boozes to come at you with just about, I want to say about 50% of that bartender book we can probably just hit up right now cold. You know what I mean? We have to have drinks and mixers on hand, but we usually do, you know? So
Yeah, we're pretty good about that.
I would even hate to do this because I'm not going to like make it so repetitive for the show. But if you can't see it now, but when you get your bartender book, you'll see that the Alabama Slammer like 2 or 3 has Galliano in it. You know, as one of the mixers.
Oh, and I need to re-apple my Galliano too, so we might have to start hitting up more Galliano drinks,
Oh, what a shame, dude.
or just do like Galliano bombs instead of Jaeger bombs. It's like Jaeger bombs, but like high class.
You're all, don't spill that shot, dude. Yeah, but you're right. I'm plumb out. I threw away my bottle of Galliano last week. It made me a little bit sad. So I need Drambuie, I need Galliano, and I want to get some absinthe. So there's that too.
Yeah, we could probably do that. I would say this. My favorite way to drink Galliano straight up, is straight up with a Red Bull. Just straight up. Just shot of Galliano, chase with a Red Bull. Fantastic. And then you got your Red Bull to run around and get you juiced up too. So a couple of Galliano shots and a Red Bull, man, that's good.
And you know what's great is Galliano is like technically a quart, but it packs a nice little punch. It's
a liqueur that's 80 proof. I mean,
yeah, you know what I mean? Just because it's floral based or whatever, you know, but yeah, no, it's anyways, we'll get off Galliano's tip. We'll just make sure that the stiffies know. Go get your bottle of Galliano if you're going to be joining us for drinks over the next few shows, because it sounds like that's the go-to thing. Hey, so there's that.
We're going to do a whole like topic on Galliano soon. About its origins, different drinks. Get some first-hand interviews.
I'm game. So I want to ask you here, Bob. Do we want to spend a lot of time on the stimulus?
I think we can explain it briefly.
Okay.
It did just pass the Senate, which is that's the obstacle, because we all knew it was getting through the House.
And I guess at this point, we all know things are going to get through the Senate too on a very slim win, but it seems like all the Democrats have band together. We'll say so far. I mean, there's that unity now. Sure,
well, this was the first test, and they did it. So
it's and you know what, the Republicans and Democrats, they both did a great job with the unity idea, but they just forgot it was supposed to be like the whole group unity. So they just went straight partisan unity, which is fine. They didn't, you know,
the Democratic Party is it's all about unity with Democrats.
Exactly.
And the Republican Party's all about unity with Republicans.
So far, the most interesting thing to me and what had happened, I don't remember her name, but there was a Democratic senator that like put in her vote for the amendment for the $15 minimum wage, and she said no, and like kind of dropped it, like almost like mic drop kind of shit. And
no, that's Kirsten Sinema, Democratic senator out of Arizona.
Yes,
he replaced Senator Jeff Flake.
Yes.
Who was a moderate Republican. But she gave it the old McCain, John McCain, right? Because the famous thing from McCain is he just got out of like brain surgery, right? Instead of a black eye from the cut and everything, goes up there to vote, and he just puts the thumbs down and votes no to vote against the healthcare, right? Mm-hmm. So he was the vote that passed Obamacare. That not passed it, but kept it from being broken down.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So she did that. I don't know if it was kind of an ode to McCain or whatever. And again, we've talked about on the show, $15, the minimum wage needs to go up. $15, probably a little too high for the whole country, blanket across the country.
It's a little aggressive. And I like what, what's his name? Steve Manchin, right? I like what he said. He said that it seems like there's overwhelming response from everybody, Democrat and Republican, to negotiate the way to 11. And people are like, well, it's not enough. I'm like, dude, it's a hell of a lot higher than 7 1/4. Get in there, take it right now because it ain't getting passed in the stimulus bill. But I mean, you know, it's too low, but that's too high. So I think the nice little, you know, the Goldilocks and the Three Bears scenario would work out really well and meet at 11 right now.
Well, and I would say this too about the minimum wage. It's just the bar, right? It's just setting the bar nationally. Probably at least a third of states already have a much higher minimum wage than the minimum wage now. I know that New Mexico's on its way up over the next few years, and it might even be to 15, but I know it's definitely increased way more than the federal minimum wage. And that's what people are getting confused, is just like, well, if the federal minimum wage doesn't go up, then I won't make any more money. Well, actually, the majority of the time is from your city, if not the state. But most of the time it's in your city. That's where the minimum wage is really instituted. All the federal minimum wage does is just say that you can't go lower than this, which...
And that was just the one thing that was like kind of, we already knew that was dead in the water, even though Bernie did again get up there, you know, during their little vote-o-rama there. I think they were in the Senate chambers for like 26 hours or some shit like that. Do you know it took them 11 hours to read the bill, just to read it? It's a pretty beefy bill. So the one thing I will say about it, without getting too much into the weeds here, beyond that being knocked out, which we both kind of assumed wasn't going to happen, there's even a lot of Democrats that don't support it being hiked all the way up to 15 across the board, and that being the base. But I think what's going to be really interesting here is a lot of the stuff that's like future payments too, which I'm not sure how. And again, I don't know all the details. Obviously, I haven't read the whole fucking bill, but there's a lot of things in there that are payments for things in 2022, 2023, 2024, 2025. I'm having a hard time base level and just like understanding how that's directly associated to coronavirus pandemic relief. So I don't know. There was a lot of shit packed into the bill that obviously not all of it flew, but it seems like now as it goes back to the House for Nancy to clean up and then and push to the president, I think this will be passed next week. And
yeah, I think so too.
I'm not getting any money for it, just so you know. I mean, if you make above $80,000 like single, or if you make whatever, I was like, huh, okay, so I'm not getting. But honestly, I don't really need help to the extent that a lot of people that this actually should be solely for do need help. So I'm totally fine with that. But hey, whatever. I already got 2 payments. You know what I mean?
So. You're pretty good shape. So yeah, I did get passed, and it got passed on a 50-49 vote, which is interesting. So that means that there was a Republican out there that abstained from voting. So I wanted to look up who that was. So someone didn't vote because there's only 99 votes cast.
That's interesting too. Who didn't vote? Did you already look it up?
I didn't. So that was interesting. So I figured this would go all 50 Democrats, and then it would be a Kamala Harris, tiebreak vote. But that's not what happened, and it ended up passing 50-49. So,
who didn't vote? I don't know.
It should be a pretty easy, like, just who didn't vote, and it should pop right up.
That's what I thought, but it's like I put who didn't vote in the Senate today is what populated in whatchamacallit in Google, but I'm not seeing anything.
Well, it's public record if you guys want to look it up. Did you find it?
Senator Lisa Murkowski.
She didn't vote?
Hold on. Seen as the only potential swing vote. Oh, she had the miss due to a family funeral. That's why she wasn't fucking there is the only reason why. And they didn't let her fucking.
Well, not to be cynical, but that seems pretty convenient. She's a senator from Alaska, and she might have voted for it anyway. But she voted to impeach Trump and voted to convict Trump. So she's one of those. She's on his list. So in fact, I read an article that Donald Trump is going up to personally campaign against Murkowski for whoever is going to run against her in the primaries. And I'm just like, good luck. She's got a lot of bipartisan support up there. There's a reason that she's a tenured senator in essentially a red state, but she gets a lot of blue votes. So anyway, the stimulus got passed. Everything except a couple of things got changed, right? The the minimum wage got taken out of it, which we all knew was going to get taken out of it. The second the Senate parliamentarian said that we can't get this through reconciliation. So reconciliation, I really don't want to explain that, but it's a way to update the budget in case. And you only need a majority vote instead of a supermajority of a 60, like any other normal law. So it's the Democrats sneaking one in on technicalities. And they did, and the parliamentarian said it could be considered the budget, so they did it. And the parliamentarian is a nonpartisan person that gives an objective view according to Senate rules that are in place. So anyway, I didn't want to explain it, but I explained it anyway.
Yeah, no, it's very strange. I said you weren't going to do something, and you did.
So we knew that most likely wasn't gonna fly either way. So we anticipated the minimum wage getting cut. The one thing that changed was, in order to get Manchin's vote, was they got he wanted it to be like the unemployment to be extended only to like June or July or something.
Sure.
So at the $400. So what they did was they extended it to September, but then they cut down all payments to just $300. So
I mean, literally, they shaved off $400 a month to extend it longer. I mean, it's what they're doing. They met in the middle to a certain extent. Yeah, I mean that was the bigger change, though. It was just slimming that part of it down, I think, a little bit, right? So,
yeah, and essentially the real reason that they wanted to extend it like that anyway was because it would have came up in a time where the Senate wasn't in session. So if it came up against it, it would have just ended, and there would have been no more any chance of getting it voted on anyway, just in case like numbers changed. I think, as we talked earlier, there's a lot of positivity expecting that by September the numbers should be in a pretty good spot anyway. So fingers crossed on that, and we don't need to extend any more coronavirus aid. But then it was the moratorium on like evictions, and I can't remember if they still had the moratorium on foreclosures or not.
I don't recall.
But I know there was definite like rental support for renters. So there's a lot of positive things. It's very interesting though that it was a strictly partisan vote. I would have assumed that there would have been more senators from the GOP that would have gave this a chance. I know that Rubio had called for $1,400 stimulus checks before, but there's a different president, so I guess his views changed.
Well, I don't know. This shouldn't be surprising to us. I mean, honestly, it's a bummer, but I understand. I understand why, in general, people didn't vote for it in the grand scheme of things. Is we're spending $1.9 trillion. We now are going to have a national deficit for the first time that almost equals our gross domestic product, which is pretty fucking scary for generations, for our children, like what their taxes are going to look like when we have to pay all this shit back.
We're baby boomering the next generation.
Yes, we are. So I get that, but a lot of things, dude, I think, and they've done this every single time, meaning the Democrats. Every COVID bill that they've passed, they come to the table with a shitload of money put aside for like the arts and for museums and this and that, which is great. But again, I don't see how like certain things are suffering that bad, even though it's COVID, like big national museums and stuff like that. Not to the point where you need to redirect like billions of dollars to certain like universities and fucking museums and art. Fucking, that doesn't make a lot of sense. And then the future payments, I can see those two things alone why a lot of Republicans were like, no. So it's,
But to be Reagan-esque about it, honestly, with the top 1% and the top, even 10% of earners in America, for all of the museums of natural history and the Met and all this other stuff, I mean, if you really just let it out there and let known that we're struggling and we might have to close our doors and hold a fundraiser,
charity,
people will stand up and keep the arts alive. So it is debatable, like whether you truly need government funding to ensure that. You'll never know if you don't actually give them a chance to try to raise their own money. Because I know like the Met has their gala and their fundraiser every year in New York, and the Met has an abundance of money, right? Because if everyone wants to support that, it's a charity, it's a write-off. People, rich people do it. They need to offset some of their expenses with write-offs anyway, so you might as well give them a focal point as to how to do that. And the arts is always a big one. So yeah, I've always kind of wondered that too. I noticed that in not even just the stimulus, just in bills in general, you'll see things like that mixed in.
It goes both. I think it goes both ways too. I think the reason why it's always in there is because there's a lot of donors to campaigns that are in the humanities that give a lot of money to Democrats. So it's the scratching back scenario. I was like, okay, yeah. Every time we're going to pass legislation, I'm going to sneak some more funds into the fucking humanities. I mean, it makes sense, but again, anything not directly related to the pains of COVID should not be in the bill. I do wholeheartedly agree with that point that a lot of Republicans are making in general about an outrageous spending bill. If it's going to be an outrageous spending bill, in my mind, it should all be about direct payments to citizens and direct payments to small businesses, not big,
like actual small businesses, not like a hedge fund that only has 20 employees but has $50 billion of capital.
Exactly. I think we re-quantify and qualify what a small business is real quickly too, and that's in the bill. Like, first, definition of a small business. Okay, get that done, and then but so I get it. Whatever. Here we are, though. I mean, let's do it. Like, I think we should both be able to optimistically say this should be the last round and round that these guys have to go about stimulus payments if things are really on track. Because let's look how long it takes them. I think it's really funny too, by the way. So far in the government's mind, like $2,400 payments if you were a family initially, $1,400 payments, $600. Apparently the government thinks that any American can just, float on on like 5-10 grand for an entire year. Cause that's all the people have really got squeaked out of the government, which I think is hilarious. So if they literally try to go to the drawing board for another relief bill for coronavirus would be over by the time they actually went to pass anything. So like, it's, hopefully it's the last little pump up. Hopefully it gets in the right hands, and then it won't be necessary anymore. That's where I'm going to go.
Yeah, and I think so. And other than that, and the stimulus is one of the big sticking points again for Republicans was the aid to states. So there's states that are hurting because of tax revenues down a lot, because a lot of businesses are down and revenues down across the board. So there's just fiscal budgets are kind of fucked up right now for a lot of states. And then the other important thing is that there's a lot of money in there for virus delivery, for vaccine delivery, and for vaccine delivery and for schools to reopen. So lots of money in there to help schools reopen. So I hope those two combined means that we're getting those teachers their vaccines so they can safely educate our kids, because it looks like if the teachers are safe, then the school environment's much better off. I mean, that's the risk, really. It's not with the kids so much, it's with the teachers.
And I'm just going to go ahead and cut through the bullshit and be a little bit blunt about it. But if the teachers don't have anything to bitch about, they can't fucking petition not to be in class anymore. Get your fucking asses back in the classroom and help develop my children. That's all I got to say.
Yeah. And they should have had their vaccines with the damn healthcare workers.
They really should.
They should have been in the front line.
I agree. I think they should have been in 1A, the Schedule 1A for all states.
I think so too.
And I think that they weren't was this sad. I mean, you have them in the same category as grocery store workers. I think all three grocery store workers too. They've been fucking chilling, bagging groceries, whatever, throughout the entire pandemic too. So, but yeah, that is the big thing. I think I saw like 350 billion going to state and local governments to help out with vaccine distribution and also recouping from things like that. So, I mean, hey, that's a good chunk of the bill right there. So let's hope that it does its work.
Yeah, it looks like a good bill. Overall, there's some parts that could have been cut out of this. I don't know if there's parts that could have been cut out of this to make it bipartisan. I just think that we got a glimpse of this is how the Senate's going to operate under Biden. I don't think that anything's going to change. I think the only time we're going to see true bipartisanship is potentially with the infrastructure bill, because everyone wins out of that.
That's true, potentially, but I think there was a misinterpretation of what the unity did mean, and we talked about it earlier. I think they did take that to heed, but it's partisan unity. Everybody banded together to vote with their own party, and I think we're going to see a lot of the same there. Which,
Yeah, and there's no bipartisan unity. There hasn't been for 15 years. I mean, it started under Bush and Newt Gingrich and those old
Newt!
schoolers and what is it, Harry Reid and those guys always battling, and it's just gotten worse and worse and worse. So it's all going to be about the party that's in charge and making the laws. And so I would venture to guess that this year at some point the filibuster comes into question. I would just guess that.
And that, I think, is another show, my friend, because
Mhm.
I got some comments on that. But I do want to just go ahead and transition to I don't know. We have time. We do have some time here. Just not a whole lot, but with the small majority and things just obviously being able to be forced through and pushed through, just like your shit in prison. Hopefully, did you like that, by the way?
I thought it was pushed in, but I got you. I'm with you.
No. But hopefully here, when things do die down, we talked about, I think on the last show, when things die down here, there needs to be some very strong voices here and a big push for decriminalizing marijuana. I think that's a big thing. I know we both wanted to chat about that. We have some opinions on that. Bob, I'm going to let you start first on this, man, too, because I think everybody knows where I stand. I think everybody knows where you stand, too, that's listened to recent shows here. But why do you actually feel this should be, and let me just start with this. Why do you think this should be something that should be priority and not just like brushed aside as some kind of stoner kind of, priority or something like that?
First off, fiscally, why do we have lines of revenue that we're just staring at, not tapping into? That's the longer that we don't tap into the taxation of marijuana revenue and get rid of the burden financially that it puts on our prison systems and our tax dollars by imprisoning people, the more idiotic we appear to not just our own voters, but to the rest of the world watching as we're sitting there throwing, a mom of four in prison for selling an ounce of weed. It just doesn't make any sense. So we're not only going to tax the marijuana, but then we're going to pay to basically falsely imprison people for having a fairly harmless drug and dealing with the black market of that harmless drug because it's classified as a narcotic. And none of that makes sense to me as an American, as a taxpayer. I just don't get it. I watch when I go north to Colorado. So say I'm going to Durango. As soon as I cross the state line, my tires make this strange noise, right? Because you're driving in New Mexico road, so it's standard New Mexico road, and then you hit the border of Colorado. You know how a road sounds when it's built, and
I get the same change in sound when I'm driving from Colorado to New Mexico, and it's like, welcome to the land of enchantment. It's like, all of a sudden I'm like, Jesus Christ, if I can do something with your roads. But no, it's a great point. I mean, it's so interesting what you had said too. We know there's a revenue stream there. We know there's a pretty goddamn lucrative revenue stream, to say the least. And we do this with oil all the time, right? If somebody has oil, they need America. They need freedom. I don't understand why we're not capitalizing, besides the fact that there's so many negative things perceptually about marijuana and marijuana use. And that goes back, Jesus Christ, Hearst and, trying to like make even hemp production illegal so he could still have his fucking paper and cotton mills and shit like that. You know what I mean? But I honestly think right now it's kind of it's like a misguided morality issue. You know what I mean? With a lot of Republicans. So I don't know. That's just kind of where I'm at with that.
Yeah. As you drink your fourth glass of scotch and you're on your soapbox bitching to your people that you have over about how we need to stop this gateway drug weed use in America. Right? It makes no sense. Alcohol is one of the worst drugs to consume and push massively. But
with that being said, I do enjoy a drink or two.
Well, of course, but here's the deal.
Hey, Joe Biden has something to say.
So if this were a business, we would not hesitate. If America was a business, we would not hesitate to hop on this revenue stream that's untapped, that's easily attainable, because that's how it works. I think it's completely ironic that in a country that claims that it's all about capitalism and the free market, that we refuse to open that market up to keep pushing the black market and feeding the prison system over what? False claims of morality, because if someone smokes a joint, they're going to hell. So I don't buy that that's what's truly believed. I buy that's what's being sold.
Yes.
Is the story. I think there's a more sinister reason to keep marijuana illegal, and because it's the number one feeder of our prison system.
Yeah. And this is a really sad thing, dude. It's if people, like you just said too, you smoke a joint, you're going to hell. It's literally a natural plant, more natural to ingest in our body somehow than alcohol. Alcohol has to be made. It has to be fermented and made. So to have that kind of idea, and literally right now, like you said, it's like once you put certain things in place, there's going to be a vested interest in all directions to keep the status quo. And that's exactly what's happening right now. The private prison system and even the public prison system, but every step of the way to get to prison, right? The police, treatment centers, the ATF, whatever. I mean, DEA,
DEA,
yeah, DEA, ATF too can be involved. They definitely can. They'll get
there. Well, once the drug dealer, the cartel, has a bunch of weapons.
Well, and if it's black market, they're going to have weapons. So ATF is already invited to the party just because of that, right? So, but all of these departments and all these building blocks and all these professions that are either based off of helping people that are in prison, because let's face it, I think 60, 70% of people that are in prison are drug-related crimes now or something outrageous like that. I know it's over 50%. So all those people have a vested interest in making sure this stays the same status quo. It is legal. It's a Schedule I narcotic, because if this is reversed, all these people are hurting, which again, it's like what we talked about with renewable energy versus fossil fuels, right? You got to rip the Band-Aid off eventually with not relying only on fossil fuels, but you're leaving an entire population of people displaced and frustrated and without work. Same kind of thing happening here, but for all the wrong reasons, man. And that's really unfortunate. Really unfortunate. What are you looking up?
Oh, I was just kind of looking at some of the drug stats.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And basically, not just drug-related crimes, but around close to 20% of inmates in state prisons said that they committed the crime to get money for their drug addiction.
Yeah.
So, and I know that steps outside of weed, because not too many people are sucking dick for weed.
Well, speak for yourself.
Oh, you're supposed to get weed out of this? So, but you're right. It's the black market creates dangers for everyone, right? They just found 2 kids a couple years ago in the Mesa that were out there shot over $1,000 drug deal. Like they owed their drug dealer $1,000. So he took these kids out, and him and a few dudes, and they shot them up and beat the hell out of them and all that, over $1,000 of weed. Again, how many lives are ruined right there because dude couldn't just go to the store and get his weed?
Exactly. I was just going to say the black market has 0 positive products. There's absolutely nothing good that comes out of the black market unless you're putting a stop to the black market, which of course is obviously not even temporary. It doesn't even affect the functioning of the black market at all to have people arrest people doing it. You need to get rid of it, because if you think about it, decriminalization, legalization may be a stretch. I'm not even going to go there. Just decriminalization, right? Around the boards. Don't even get into the morality issue. Just said, you know what, everybody, guess what, guys, we're fighting a losing battle. We're fighting a stupid battle. It's a war that should never have started on marijuana. Maybe other drugs you can make the case a little bit heavier for. Let's get out of the way of the friction. Let's get out of the way of the raging river that's obvious that we're standing in the way of. And let's not only let people do what they want to do and make their own decisions with something that you said is relatively safer than a lot of things that are illegal, but also Let's throw some energy into that river that's going by and make some goddamn money in the fucking process that we need a shitload. Like you had said, it's mind-boggling that we have not only a lot of status quo industries and people that want to keep things the way they are because that's their livelihood, whatever. But then you got a large group of people that still demonize marijuana and marijuana use and stoners and all this shit. Like they're unproductive fucking idiots that are drugs on society, turn into crackheads, of course. Right. We keep all that going. So we stay in a position to where we have overcrowded prison systems, people that should be in jail if they shouldn't be in jail. And we're always bitching and complaining about why we don't have money. We can't just print money, why we get taxed so shit much. And it's just standing there. It's just standing there waiting. You know,
and it's a willing tax. Like
Yeah.
I'm going to go pay this 20% tax willingly because I want my weed.
Yeah.
And the free market will actually drive that price down so that people could still be paying the 20% tax and still getting their weed for cheaper than they did from, Hector the drug dealer, right?
Yeah.
And
I
I don't know why he's Hector. I don't know.
Well, obviously you're a racist. We're canceling Bob. His problem with Mexicans now, or I don't know, Hector may have been of Guatemalan. I'm racist now, thinking everybody's just some kind of Mexican.
He was Puerto Rican, dude. He was American.
No, but it's really interesting. I mean, and you can get tangled up and start in being all inclusive of all drugs to a certain extent, because there's still a big point of mine. And I know, I believe same with yourself. And I know a lot of other people is, I don't care if it is harmful to me. You know what I mean? I do care that something is harmful to me, but I don't care if somebody is doing something that's harmful to themselves. I see guys smoking cigarettes all the time. Old guys with fucking oxygen tanks that are fucking still, I'm like, hey, dude, it's probably bad for you, but hey, it's not my fucking business. You know what I mean? Anybody should be able to do whatever the fuck they want. As long as they're not hurting somebody else, they can hurt themselves. That's fine. Especially if it's a long progressive thing that,
we can't legislate self-destructive behavior out of human societies. We can't say, we can say you can't smoke weed because it'll ruin your productivity, but we can sit there and watch someone fucking double cheeseburger himself to death.
Exactly. It's crazy, dude. And that's the hypocrisy right there, is literally it does blow my mind that people can do some of the nastiest stuff that we have fucking hard fucking evidence that nobody will disagree with. That's horrible. That will kill you. Like you said, just eating certain things is more deadly than a lot of drug use. And I'll even go to say like crack or heroin too, just to be extreme. So that's the first thing too. That's like the first initial thing. It's like, wait, pump the brakes. All this great stuff that can happen from marijuana being decriminalized or even legalized there, getting a stamp of approval from the government, all these amazing things, financially, otherwise, socially, legally, all these great things. But bottom line is, why are we as a government trying to actually regulate people's decisions? Like independent decisions.
It's not supposed to be the business that the United States is in.
No, they're supposed to keep people in check with the decisions that they make, right? If the decision you make causes something that disrupts our society, our group trying to live harmonious together, then they can step in and correct shit.
Yeah, as long as the decision that you made, even though it might be bad for you, as long as it's not bad or infringes on the civil rights of other people, then you should be able to make it.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And that's the argument against masks, right? Is the politicizing of masks. Well, I shouldn't have to wear a mask because, it's America. Well, yeah, but you could be infringing on someone else's health.
Yeah.
That's why that's different. But if I want to smoke weed, I'm not infringing on anybody's fucking health. I'm just like hurting my own lungs.
And as a very positive byproduct, you're stimulating usually the entertainment market, either cinema or video games, TV shows, right? And I know a lot of the chip manufacturers and sodas and things like that, they love a good stoner. You know what I mean? A lot of good synergy with business and corporation too. It's just the act of smoking marijuana and what happens in the short period after.
Well, the whole idea of the free market and everything that we have working in America says that we should be pro at least decriminalizing of weed and taxing it and building revenue off of it and getting money off of it. Everyone needs to get their cut, not just sitting around prohibiting that while watching it just destroy lives with no value or anything out of it. People are dying because the black market deal's gone bad. People are going to prison unnecessarily. All of these negative things happen. And the one thing that we could do to be to be proactive about it and to turn that into a positive would be to at least decriminalize it, and if not legalize it, get all that revenue, and at the same time quit destroying lives over it. It's a win-win. There is no losing for decriminalizing marijuana. The only losing that you may get is by losing the evangelical vote in the GOP.
I mean, like I said before, that's a damn shame. And then I move on with my fucking life. You know what I mean?
Again, because they're not going to vote Democrat.
No, they are not. Hey, just wait till they circle the wagons and come on back home, baby.
They'll be mad for a while, but they'll be back.
Just like an abused wife. You know what I mean? She'll be back. No, but here's another thing too, and I use Colorado because they were the first test run, right? For how this was going to look. Everybody was looking at Colorado. Other states followed very shortly thereafter. But since decriminalization and recreational purchase of marijuana, I looked it up earlier. I already knew these stats were true, but I wanted to make sure I wasn't completely fucking, blowing smoke up your skirt there, Bob. But crime rates have dropped consistently. Usage is actually dropped too. Reported usage with teens and things like that. Don't get me wrong. Initially, everywhere where it happens, there's a novelty spike of everybody kind of jumping up.
Everyone that hasn't smoked in 20 years,
yeah,
now can.
I'm gonna go get something from the dispensary. Why not relive my
Then they realize, hey, this ain't the weed I smoked in high school. I can't handle that shit no more.
Yeah, one toke, and they're fucking like in their closets with the door closed, like crying and something, holding like a stuffed animal that they had when they were a kid. But no, all those things were initial spikes, but everything even out. Obviously, you already made a good point there. It's not a shitload of money. Like, it's not going to replace the oil business or something like that in certain states, but it's billions of dollars. I think 350 or something like that. 300. I can't remember how many billion from just tax revenue Colorado has gotten, but it's always funneled back to infrastructure, roads, to school, to treatment programs, all that good shit. And there hasn't been anything that people have said or have feared was going to happen, right? You know, the old thing when Colorado did do this initially, a lot of other neighboring states in criticism then was, oh, okay, everybody's just going to be smoking weed there. Watch this. The whole state's going to get stupider. Everything's going to, the high crime rates are going to go through the roof. All my kids at age 5 are going to be smoking pot because they're going to be seeing it everywhere. None of that shit has happened.
So the annual tax revenue in 2020 for Colorado was $387 million.
There we go. Yeah, there we go. That's what I had billion from when we're talking about stimulus. So yeah, so still
that's a boatload of money, especially when you're talking, $390 million though. I mean, how much can that do for schools and roads?
And check this out. Better question, Bob, is Colorado is not one of the most populated states. Take what Colorado did last year and put it per capita with all 50 states. You know what I mean? Then all of a sudden we're looking at probably close to like $500 billion or more dollars from just making money off of what's already happening, whether or not it be legal or not.
Well, plus also if it's legal federally, it opens up international trade. So, I mean, as you know, from the stock market, there's plenty of marijuana companies in Canada. That Aphria Tilray thing that's going on. They're both Canadian companies.
Yep.
Once they can actually get into the U.S. market and the U.S. start competing,
our stocks are going to blow the fuck up.
Not only that, but it'll also just increase revenue and business just in all of North America, legit wise. So I think you'll see an exponential growth at that point once there's no more federal restrictions on it. I mean, we're always looking for ways to raise money, right? I mean, nukes don't build themselves. We're always looking for ways to streamline and ways to raise money. This is just a no-brainer, man. I can't even see an argument for anyone that believes in the free market or anyone that wants taxation with representation to say that there's anything negative about legalizing and taxing the marijuana trade and opening it up to the free market. I just don't understand that. I'll never understand that. If you want to get your religion and all that shit involved, I just don't care. Leave your religion out of my fucking economy.
Well, and what's really, and that's a great point. And what's really sad too is this is being tossed around as a political decision when it should be plain and simple a business decision. That's it. Like you said earlier, like if we were a business, if they made this decision based off of business pros and cons instead of, well, what is my base going to think, and what is this faction of people going to think if we do this? I mean, it's clear as day to all of us behind closed doors that this is makes sense in every direction. But what are they going to think now when the whole country is literally going to the pot? You know what I mean? Fucking stupid.
Yeah, and then free up the DEA to go get real drugs and real drug dealers. Like, go fix the fentanyl problem.
Yeah.
Go jump on that. That's a real problem.
Or maybe the Bobs from Office Space will actually have walking into the head of the DEAs eventually and having that little conversation with them. He's like, so guys, now that weed is legal, what would you say that you do here? And they'd be like, oh, you know what? Blah, blah, blah. Yeah, not much. We're shutting you down.
We're just going to cut people loose, streamline revenue. We might lose a few positions, like half, but
yeah, right. But on it, you're right, though. I mean, if there's a real problem, personal things too, family and friends have been directly affected by the opioid crisis and epidemic, dude. That's something that needs to be dramatically. And look, I'm a libertarian in the sense that, I'm very much about the freedom to do whatever the fuck you want on your own fucking land and all that shit. But let's just face it. Opioids especially are very dangerous. I don't know anybody that's casually done them and come out on top on the other end, where I know plenty of potheads that are extremely successful. Joe Rogan, for instance. Elon Musk smokes fucking weed, or at least he has. They're doing just fine. That's all I gotta say.
So it's like, so you just won the 200-meter dash in Summer Olympics. How did you achieve that? Well, when I was 14, I started using fentanyl, and then it just progressed from there.
Right. Hey, what's his name? Fucking what is his name
Phelps.
Too? Michael Phelps smoked, but he's got like what 20 gold medals or something fucking outrageous or something. I don't even remember. But he's
I think it's like 23 or 24 medals. Like, yeah, he's admitted to smoke, and a lot of sports people do, because of its natural healing abilities and its natural pain relief abilities, and to just distract you from your pain of rigorous, especially professional athletic training.
And honestly, to get away what you would tell the doctor to get your old marijuana card or anything, just because they like to fucking chill out and relax, and it's pleasing to them too. Maybe there's that.
I have PTSD. It's it's debilitating. I need weed. It's
Speaking of which here, just because we're getting close here on time, I was thinking about it too. Since things have gone to more of the marketplace for marijuana in general, there is like 20 states now that have at least medical. A lot of them now are
rec. I think it's like 33 that at least have medical.
Oh,
last time
this is beautiful. This is beautiful. But there's been a lot of new ways to take your THC to get it in your body. And I think that's what we wanted to end it with here, buddy, is a lot of different ways to smoke weed. What's your bag of tea?
I mean, well, I haven't smoked weed since all the new school stuff came out. So I couldn't really say a whole lot. So, I mean, the kids these days call it flower.
You know what? They call it flower now too, because it's not really the most common way to smoke weed anymore. Smoking weed is actually not nearly
it's old school
as much. Yeah, it's very old school. It's funny. I've been at the dispensary. He's like, hey man, what are you looking for? And when like my pen was broken or something was happening, some kind of extra piece of paraphernalia that I've had was malfunctioning, I'm like, I'm just going to get some flour, and they were almost like depressed a little bit with me. Like, oh, just some flour today. Everything okay? Yeah, it's definitely opened up a lot. I will tell you though, as we talked about briefly, as we were prepping for the show, I think like earlier this week, the ingestion game has always been pretty on point. Like way back in the day, everybody talking about making the just bomb ass pot brownies. Right?
It was the brownies. Yeah.
Yeah. And now they got all kinds of different edibles, chocolate bars, gummies, fucking suckers, you name it. They have like energy drinks that are fucking THC infused now. It's off the charts, man. But I will tell you what, it's definitely a lot stronger than any other way to take it, but it's very, very unpredictable. You never know kind of where you're going to be after the, 30 to 45 minutes goes by. And it can be a little unsettling when you're not ready for it. I can tell you that much.
It's like in the night before when Seth Rogen's all fucked up and he ends up like in church with his wife.
I love that.
A little too much. And she like makes him leave.
Yeah. That's a good one.
Oh, I was just looking to kind of confirm. There's only 6 states in the U.S. that have fully illegal marijuana laws. That's South Carolina, Alabama, looks like Tennessee, Kansas, and Utah and Idaho.
Well,
Everyone else at least has decriminalized it, has medical and decriminalized, or has legalized it.
well, I
Pretty
hope everybody
impressive
had
map that I'm looking at.
right, and I hope everybody had their pen and paper out there too, because you literally could have just wrote down all the states that you do not live in. You just don't do it. You just don't do it. Besides Idaho, I do kind of like Idaho had all those, but all the other ones are like hardcore Bible Belt or Mormon states.
Oh, sorry, no, it wasn't Utah. It was Wyoming. My bad.
Strange. That is really strange. I know there's probably a lot of potheads in Wyoming too, which is interesting.
Utah has decriminalized.
See, even the Mormons are on board, buddy. Even the Mormons, bud.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The swarming Mormons of Utah getting their weed on.
So let me ask you this then: bong, joint, blunt, out of a wood pipe, out of a corn cob, out of a apple core. Come on, give me something here, Bob. Reach back into your heyday.
Well, hold on.
Yeah, baby.
I'm thinking.
Out of a Coke can that you like hit with a push pin on the top to make a bowl.
I mean, I would say it kind of depends on the venue, right?
Okay, let me paint the picture. You're going into a show. You're going into a concert. You're in the park.
Joint all day.
Okay.
You can just quickly toss that away, pass it around. It's concerts, joint all day.
Now you're at a buddy's house. There's a house party going on, but it's a tight, small kind of group of people, and you've just got the most supreme kush that you ever had. What are you smoking out of right then?
Oh, we're going with a pipe for that one. A nice last piece, something that you don't want to drop. Bongs are that's a young man's game.
Bongs are for fucking kids.
That's for someone in their 20s and has like better lung capacity. A bong will kill someone over 30.
It's interesting. It's totally interesting you say that. I used to have like a really couple of sweet glass bongs back in the day. And then way back in the day, me and my buddies used to hit a 6-footer, like graphics bong, which is fucking...
It's like a 2-man show because obviously.
Yeah.
You're like monkey hand feeding it.
Somebody had to like pull the carb and light it. And then, but literally, dude, taking the 6 hits or the 6 feet of just nasty, milky smoke all at once there, that can kill somebody. I would say, yeah, it's definitely a young man game because I couldn't do that today.
What a gas mask.
Ooh, yes, interesting. Wow, yeah. That's been done before. That's always a nice little way to hotbox yourself too at the same time. Very interesting.
No, I know that anymore people are, using vape pens or...
Oh, I've got one right here. You guys can see it. See, bam. There it is.
Vape pens are wax, right? Or different things. But like I said, man, it's been so long since I've smoked that I just don't even know. I don't even know like the common way that it's done anymore, other than your vape pen, because I talk to you all the time.
Well, I just did it about 2 minutes ago. So, I mean, if you want my opinion, I'm a huge fan of the liquid, almost like the liquid type resin kind of.
So the vaporized oil.
Yeah, the vaporized oil. I do like the actual wax too is pretty fun. It's a huge step up from old school hash. The thing is though, it's very, very strong. So if I'm going back to old school days, though, I'm not a blunt or joint guy unless I'm on the go. Then I'm definitely a joint guy. Honestly, blunts, I think we're always just about making a statement. They weren't really like
just look at how much weed I got right here.
Yeah, it's not practical. Yeah, like why are you smoking a half ounce of weed in one joint like right now? Like, is that necessary? It's like unless it's total shit Mexican brick weed. It's not today. I don't even think I could smoke like more than a couple puffs off a fucking blunt without dropping over or something like that. But I was always a pipe guy. I was always like a nice little compact Pyrex pipe guy. Wasn't big on the metal, the old school metal pipes, but I did have one. I did have one way back in the day. But that's always nice because then you got a nice clean just weed hit too. I don't like smoking paper or cigar paper with it. It's not good. Extra shit. And you smell like a fucking trash can too.
Yeah, and as far as edibles go, I mean, I haven't had an edible since me and a buddy like just made the most dank brownies ever in like 11th grade.
You know what? That was fun though. I remember a buddy of mine that used to make brownies all the time, and he actually used to out in Moriarty. He used to like grow like his own like high grade and everything. That's what you used to call it back in the day, kids.
No, it was high grade. It was
high grade, dog. What didn't we didn't know what the fuck it was.
there wasn't percentages.
Yeah.
I'm smoking this is 28%. 28% what? The fuck are you youngsters doing over there?
You're what percentage is it? I don't know. Like there's a higher percentage that you get high if you smoke that than the grass in my front yard.
I haven't found a seed yet, but if you find one, give it to me.
Yeah, I got some topsoil in the backyard. We're gonna get going here. Oh my god. Yeah. Boy, yeah, I wasn't, not too much on the blunts and the joints, but I know some guys that were religious on them, and I always thought it was just big waste. You know what I mean? Smoking.
Well, and even though I don't, partake in my, middle-aged life, doesn't mean that I'm any less of an advocate for its benefits in our American culture and society.
Well, honestly, too, have you ever been really nervous when there was somebody that looked like a pothead or somebody that smelled like weed in the store, versus a guy that looks like he's high on crack or meth? Give me a
No, it's just like, oh, that guy's getting some snacks.
and you could always usually give him like the little, hey, all right, what do you got there? Funyuns, nice, dude.
So it was kind of windy the other day, and me and my son are unloading boxes, and then I'm like, you smell that? And he's like, yeah. And I was like, someone is smoking weed. He's like, yep. And I'm like, from over there, right? Because the wind's blowing directly from a neighbor's house. So I was like, oh, I know which one of my neighbors for sure smokes weed, because I can like smell the chronic, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm so old.
I know the chronic. That I was like, that's a great album, but I don't know if you went in, people would laugh. They'd be like, oh hell yeah, old schooler, come on down, man. What do you want? Let me show you what's in the case.
I was wondering if you had any of that.
Cron?
Oh, you got some Cron dough?
And you're all looking around, just like, hey, you got any high grade, man? Any Cron diesel back there? They're like, yes, always sell. Come on down, old schooler.
They're like, oh yeah, I got a 3070 sativa indica hybrid plant here with 28%. It'll really knock your socks off. Only half toke this stuff.
Yeah, I want some of that. Yeah, I want some of that hybrid dominant blueberry headband shit. I don't know. I'm feeling something that's a little bit heady, but still, like a little bit energy wise. You're like, what the fuck? That's how people talk now in dispensaries.
It's so crazy. It's so crazy.
Yeah, like back in the day, I was like, dude, it just gets me ripped. I mean, I don't know. I hope it's an indica. I hear good things about indica when I read High Times magazine, but whatever. Well, Bob, I think we're out of time, buddy. What do you think?
Probably. It might even be overtime, but that's okay.
Fuck it. It's the stiff truth, baby.
It's been 2 weeks.
We had to give a little extra here. I know we had a lot more to say to each other, but Bob, I mean, what do you got to tell the stiffies? Anything?
We are back on our regular schedule. So I'm sorry for being so selfish and not doing a show amidst my move. But I will be back on it, and I will rededicate. And we'll be back every week. Again, like and subscribe, tell your friends. More importantly, just get the word out there and listen to the show. Recommend it for anyone that might like it. We're gonna up our game in 2021. Now that we've got everything squared away at the tumultuous start to this year. You'll start seeing some more stuff. We have some important things coming up in the next couple of weeks with about our TikTok channel. So you'll be hearing more and more about that. But other than that, I love you guys, and thank you so much for being part of the show and letting us be part of your life.
Absolutely. We love you all, and we'll see you next week, guys. Rock and roll. Take care.
See ya.